Jairete Pantes! Jairete Philoe, noon, ego enomizon, peritinos. I was thinking about, about something, hoti, hemes, dunomata, poiesai, homu, that we can do together. Kai, ego bulomai anagnonai tuto. Tuto to euangelion, to euangelion, kata Markon, according to Mark, right? Okay, to kephaleon, to proton, kephaleon, the first chapter, hen, one is hen, the ordinal number for one is, protos. Okay, hode, I'm using the neuter, kephaleon, so it's to proton kephaleon, the first chapter. Okay, stikos, hen, so verse 1. So, let's see, anagnomen, nun. Let's read now. Arche tu evangeliu Isu Christu, uiu theou. Okay, nun, ego eroto humas erote mata. Now I'm going to ask you questions, right? So now I ask you questions. So, tuto essen totelos. Totelos is the end. Arche tu evangelio. Arche is the beginning. Arche. Totelos. Right? Totelos. Right? Arche. Totelos. Arche. Signomen. Put the accent in the wrong place. So just want to check that. See that? Yeah, soft breathing mark. Arche, the beginning. Or, saw that in the previous video. Totelos, the end, right? So ego eroto humas. I ask you, essen totelos? Udamos, ukesten totelos, essen arche. Okay, arche tinos. Of what? Tinos. Right? So arche tinos, right? So there's a question mark. Remember, semicolon is question mark in Greek. That's the convention we use. Of course, in antiquity, they didn't have punctuation, so that's something that evolved over time and stuff. But arche tinos, that's a question. Erotema, question. Erotema estin, it's a question. Arche tinos. So the okay. De me krastai. Let me use to arthro. Dotike, the dative, to arthro. So de me krastai. When I use that verb, in this case the infinitive, krastai or ego chromai, I'm using the direct object goes in the dative. So normally it's the accusative, but some verbs, as I mentioned, it's either the dative or the genitive, and you just have to memorize those. So de me krastai to arthro. So I need to use the article, the definite article, like diati. Why diati? Hoti hemes legomen, the beginning. The beginning of what? Arche tinos. It's not just a beginning of what, it's the beginning of what, right? So signomen, arche tinos. So the beginning of what, right? Ego eroto humas. The beginning of what? Arche tu euangeliu. Okay, the nominative, euthea, legomen onomastike, the nominative. We can say either onomastike or we can say eotheia. We saw that in the previous video. We were learning some grammar, right? So hey hey onomastike ptosis, the nominative case, right? Estin to euangelion, to euangelion. So we'd have a new right here. So yeah, actually, I'll just click on it. We'll show you. So it's neuter, and we'll see. So it's neuter, so it'd be to euangelion, right? So the ending, this pretty typical ending for a neuter noun, right? Night. Arche tu evangelium. Night. So, the question is, okay, why did I say, why did I use this in the genitive? Of course, this is third declension pattern. Why did I use this in the genitive? Because this is in the genitive, right? Arche tu evangelio. So the beginning of the gospel. It's, a arche, a beginning, but we're talking here, I'm saying specifically this beginning that we're talking about, like the beginning of what, right? So that's why I use the genitive, tu evangelio. This is in the genitive, right? So kai tu evangelio tinos. So we continue on with this genitive idea, right? Like tinos. To now when we say there, tinos can be what or it can be whom, of what or of whom, right? So in this case, it's of whom. Diati. Why? Diati. Hoti, because hoti, tuto es in onama. Onama, it's a name, right? Onama. Jesus, right? Jesus. Now this happens to be the genitive or the dative form. I mean, they both end like that, the dative or the genitive. For some reason, with his name, this is both genitive and dative. So you got to look at the context to see, okay, is it genitive or dative? And we can see since Christos is in the genitive, this is also, and this is in the genitive. So, and it makes sense. You know, the beginning or a beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, of the Christ, right? So of the Messiah, Christos, and to onoma estin Jesus, right? Kai, some manuscripts, that's why it's often some different sites, websites you've seen, like I could even show you, show you this one. Let's see. So if we go to, just click on this here. And we go to first verse. And then I just scroll down here. Yeah, you'll see some of them have it, some of them don't. Like here, this Nestle-Aland critical text done by these guys. I can't remember the guy's first name, but anyway, this critical text is done in 1904. And then the Westcott and Hort one, I mean, based on old manuscripts they found, it didn't have this part, so they left it out. And then here, this version of Westcott and Hort, they put it in parentheses, kind of like we have it. And then here, Byzantine majority text, this version of that critical text used for the majority text, it has it, huio tu theou. And then the Orthodox, it has it as well, huio tu theou. The version by Tischendorf of the Textus Receptus thing that he did. It doesn't have it here. Schreibner's Textus Receptus does have it. So anyway, that's the point. That's why you see it like this. Where were we here? That's why you see it like that, because eniote, sometimes, right? Spell that for you. That's a useful word. Eniote. Let's see. I think the accent is over the syllable. Eniote, but let's see. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Eniote. Oh, okay. Let me just iron out my mispronunciation there. Eniote. I'll just show you that. Eniote, sometimes. Eniote. Ego epon. Eniote. I said eniote, sometimes. T elegon. What was I saying? Elegon. T elegon. What was I saying? Eniote, eke tuto, it has this. Kai eniote, ukeke, it doesn't have it. Nai. Okay, anagnomen. So the subjunctive of the aorist, that's how we're saying, hey, let's read right now. If I made it present tense, anaginoskomen, that would be something for like, hey, let's read every day at this time, or, the idea of the aspect of using present tense with subjunctive like that in the first person plural, hey, maze, like, let's do something. You would use the aorist a lot of times when you're just talking about like right now, right? That's the aspect. They use the term aspect. When it's not the indicative mood, but it's some other mood. In this case, it's the subjunctive mood, right? So I've mentioned that in other videos before. Hopefully you're getting that. And if we use present tense, that's appropriate for different scenarios, but it's always something that's over an extended period of time or many occasions, not just a single event that is kind of short-lived and stuff like this, where it's like, hey, let's read like right now. And this is not gonna be that long of a video, so we wouldn't say anagenoskomen, we would say anagnomen. So I had already typed that out. So anagnomen. I mean, I could say hey maze, but we've got the ending, so we know that we're talking about hey maze. So I might just say anagnomen. Let's read. That's what that means, right? So put that in English, I guess. Let's read, right? And I can say homu, so that it's don't really need to say that, but could say that homu. Let's read together. Oh, homu. Homu. Let's read together. Anagnomen homu. Yeah, I could say homu or not say homu. It doesn't matter. Udiafere. It doesn't matter. Udiafere. So kathos gegraptai ento Isaia. So hutos esten prophetes. Hutos esten prophetes. Tis esten hutos. Hutos esten anglisti. This is in English Isaiah, right? Ho prophetes. Ho prophetes. O prophetes. O prophetes. It's arsenicon, masculine, arsenicon. Kai estin onoma. Estin onoma. Arsenicon. Kai to arthron un estin ho. Ho prophetes. Ho. Hoti arsenicon. Arsenicon estin. Kai puesmen, where are we? Puesmen hode. Tuto esten they may signaling. They may apograpsai tuto. Let me copy this, take a picture of this. Okay. So I want to delineate some things here. Hode. Hode esten hey phrases. It's a phrase. Tes protheseos. Remember prothesis? We learned in the last video. Prothesis is preposition. Prothesis. So this is a prepositional phrase. Like post legomen tuto. How do we say this? Phrases tes protheseos. So tuto esten phrases tu protheseos. Que tuto esten hey prothesis. En. Like going like in something, right? Not going into something that we'd use ace for that, but we're already in something. Like I'm already inside my place, right? So ego ente oikiamu. Ego ente oikiamu. Now notice en pantote, always pantote, tuto estin meta tes dotikes. It's always with the dative, right? So this is the dative, just like ego epon, like I said, inte oikiamu, right, in my house. So it's with the dative. So en, so we say en, and then with the dative, it means in something. Well, I guess I already said that. So here, into esaia, right? So this is not talking about into the person, obviously. Esten hegrafe is the writing. Let's see. Esaia. Isos tuto ukesten tuto esten aclinaton. Aclinatai. Jose muy okay. It's not declined, basically. So I think we would leave. Well, it does have the hupogegramenon iota there. Subiota, hupogegramenon. That's how you say that in Greek. Hupogegramenon iota. Hupo to grammatos under the letter alpha. That's the indicative, or that's the indicator of quite often of the dative. So if you have something in the dative, you suspect this is okay, this is dative, and then you see that at the end in the last letter. Okay, yeah, it's confirmation. That's part of that prepositional phrase in the dative, right? So it's part of what's written in the dative. So yeah, we would say hey grafe tes Isaías, isos alpha sigma, Jose Moidoke. According, my opinion, Jose Moidoke. Grafetes Isaías. So the writing of Isaiah, Hemes legomen peritutu. That's what we're talking about. Kathos gegraptai integrafe tes Isaías. In the writing of Isaiah, tuto semine. This means tuto semine. To profete. Nai, hutos esten ho anthropos. Hutos esten ho anthropos. Like, this is the person, right? Ala, kai esten dotike. Ptosis. Esten dotike ptosis. Ptosis, remember, we learned last video, means case, right? So it's the dative case. Tuto esten he, or haute esten he dotike ptosis. Haute esten he dotike ptosis. So I wouldn't use tuto because that's neuter. I would use haute. Haute esten, and that's the nominative form, right? So haute esten. If we use esten, we want to use the nominative, right? So haute esten, he dotike ptosis, the dative case, right? So hutos esten anthropos. Ho profetes, jode. Nai, ho profetes. Esten anthropos. It's a man, right? As opposed to hey grafe, ukes en anthropos. Hey grafe, the writing, ukes en anthropos. It's not a person, right? Esten skeon. I guess that's one way you could say a thing. Skeon is used for a lot of things, even like tools and pots and pans and different things or whatever, but it's just kind of something. I'm trying to think of another better word for a thing, but pu esmen jode kai nai jode. Nice. So we got grafo. This is torema, the verb, esten grafo. Esten grafo. Ala, let me get rid of this. Ala ge graptai, right? So this is third person singular. Like I could say out if I use the personal pronoun auto ge graptai, like it is written, right? Or if I say nai. I guess we could say this. It's not written, but it's kind of implying it. Hey prophetea. Hey prophetea. The prophecy. Hey prophetea. Ge graptai. It is written, right? So if we say this is now, notice this is middle passive voice. This is not active voice. If it's active voice, then we would say, in fact, it's because of reduplication, you might notice that right there. Ge graptai. Let me highlight that. Yeah, right here, this part, this reduplication, that's when you look at the base stem, gay grap, or it's usually graf, this is a phi, but it changed because of the tense that we're in, which is the perfect tense. It changed to a p. So phi, like in English, ph versus p, the letter p in English, right? It's kind of a similar sort of thing in Greek. I mean, it's where we get it, right? So we got p, we got the letter p. I remember when I was in math class years ago here in the United States, We would call it pi, right? But with Erasmian pronunciation, we call it p. So p, kai, fi, right? So fi would be, yeah, like, I mean, this would be a capital letter, fi anyway. But yeah, anyway, that's my chicken scratch there. So here we go. Here's an example down here. Yeah, so there's lowercase fi. But anyway, I don't want to try to write it out. My writing would be terrible. But this would be, yeah, fi, right? So this would be fi. If it was the lexical form ego grafo, I write ego grafo. Okay, ego grafo ti, I write what? Ego grafo ten graphene, the writing, or a writing. I could leave out the definite article and just say graphene. That'd be a writing, right? Ego grafo graphene, I write a writing, right? So here we get the verb, it's in teorema grafo. Allah, but Allah, it's gay graptai, right? So this is the perfect middle passive voice, indicative mood. So kathos, just as it is written ento Esaia, in the book. Ento biblio katatein Esaian, or ente graphe tes Esaias, yeah, not in the person. Ukestin into anthropo. It's not in the person, right? It's in the writing, the book, whatever. Into biblio. Nai to profete. So this is all part of that prepositional phrase. It's all dative, right? So in the into Isaiah to profete. So in the Isaiah the prophet, or in Isaiah the prophet, really Signomen ekete. So have forgiveness. Signomen ekete. Like I said, I think I mentioned this already with Jesus, ho Jesus, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I was talking to somebody else. Ho Jesus, or ho Petros, or ho Bretos. We always use the article. Well, most often in the New Testament, the article before the name, right? So ho Jesus. We don't have it here though, which is interesting. We don't have it here, up here with Jesus, but most of the time you do. And so here, this is sort of like Ho Isaiah, that we don't say it this way in English. We don't say the Isaiah, right? So really this is, yeah, in Isaiah, the prophet, right? Now, when they say that again, ukestin anthropos, it's not the man, right? It's implying the writing according to him, right? So anyway, let's move on. Okay. Get rid of all of this stuff here. Okay. Pues y do. Okay, so this is one way to say behold. This is middle passive imperative for jorao. So this verb right here, this here, yeah, jorao. Yeah, let's see. Let me go up here. Yeah, jorao, alpha contract, jorao. So when we use it, present indicative, very simple. I see, ego joro. Su horas, right? So su horas, alpha contract. Autos hora, he sees. So if we said ho profetes hora, the prophet sees, right? Ento melontikron, into the future, in the future time. Ento melontikron. Yeah, so yeah, if we were using the aorist, yeah, this accent is actually wrong. The accent should be over here. So it should be ide. So if I say to a single person, su, ide, like look, ide. So if I use the active voice, you can say it that way. And we have it in the New Testament like that. Or to many persons, idete, right? So this is active voice, ide or idete. Again, that accent shouldn't be there. It should be over here. So ide or idete. But if we go down to the middle, passive voice, imperative, not the present tense, but the imperative. Well, yeah, not the present tense, but the aorist tense. imperative, we see what we were using in that scripture, idu. So this is middle, second person, singular, middle passive, and it's, or middle voice, sorry, middle voice, and it's the aorist. So we see the aorist and the present tense verb stem is different. Here it's omicron rho, here it's iota, delta, yeah. So let's go back here. So that's what we see, idu, right? So behold. So it's like, look, that's literally what it means. We have this King James tradition of using this archaic word, behold, but it means look, right? Apostelo ton angelon mo, pro prosoposu. So hotheos lege tuto. Let me get rid of that. Hotheos, tis lege tuto, tis lege tuto. Idu, apostelo to angelon mo. Proposoposu. Tis lege. Who's saying this? Tis lege. Hotheos. Hotheos lege tuto. Hotheos lege tuto. Idu apostelo ton angelon mo prosoposu. Nay. We'll get back to some of the questions I want to ask there in a second, but let's just take a look at this prepositional phrase. So again, prothesis. Tuto essen a prothesis. This is the preposition pro. Okay, pro kai genitive, right? So remember that, hotan. So I say hotan tutoto meros, this part. Metatain prothesin after the preposition. Meta kai, the accusative. Meta kai accusative means after something, right? Metatain prothesin after the preposition pro. Tutotomeros pro prosopo su estin genike ptosis, right? Pro ke genike, right? So remember that, yeah. Pro prosopo su. So hotheos lege tuto. Idu apostelo ton angelon mu pro prosopo su. So here we got the prepositional phrase, before your face, right? Kai tuto estin to sum pleroma. So the complement, which basically means, kind of is the idea of the direct object, the complement. We could say it that way. So tuto estin to rema apostelo. I send. You may recognize this. Isos humes ede. Maybe you guys already ede oidete, that you already know. Hoti apostelo kai apostelos. They share the same root. Apostelo kai apostolos. Apostolos, like apostle, right? Someone that is sent, right? Okay, here's the verb, tutotorema, this verb, apostelo. So, ho Jesus, or sugnomen, sugnomen ekete, forgive me, I have forgiveness, sugnomen ekete. So ekete, there's the verb echo, have, right? And it's the imperative, and it's the present tense imperative, right? It's not a short-term, one-term thing, hapax, like, where we use the aorist. It's the present tense. So I'm actually wanting you to maintain and continue holding and having ekete, sugnomen, forgiveness, sugnomen, right? Sugnomen, I can bring that up real quick. Sugnomen, sugnome, here's the eothea, the onomastike, the nominative form, sugnome. So I'm using ekete sugnomen. That's why it's in the accusative, because it's the sum pleroma, the direct object, the complement of the verb, ekete. Yeah, it doesn't really tell you that it's feminine, but it says up here, eke kai, yeah, to forgive. Yeah, sugnomen echo. There you go. That's got there. That's interesting. Forgiveness all by itself, forgiveness. But if I say, yeah, to forgive, sugnomen ekete, have forgiveness, have pardon, pros me, towards me, right? Okay. Upostrepsomon. Let's return back. Okay. Pues me jode. No, jode. Ho theos lege tuto. Ho theos, he says this. Idu apostelo ton angelon mu, right? Nai, tis to angelon. Ho angelos. Ho angelos. Eothea est in ho angelos. Okay. Tuto est in aitiatike. It's the accusative. Aitiatike. Aitiatike. Right? Ho theos apostele. Right? So third person, because I'm referring to him third person. Ho theos apostele ton angelon. Autu. Autu. So God sends his messenger, ton angelon autu, right? So if it's God saying this, then it's apostelo ton angelon mu. I send my messenger, right? My angel, my messenger. That's where we get the word angel, angelos, right? But if I'm referring to it as a narrator, then I might say, instead of a quote, like this is a quote, right, from the Old Testament. If I say, that God said this, I would say, Ho theos apostele, God is sending ton angelon autu, the messenger of him. That was his messenger, right? Kai tis estin ho angelos, estin ectu uranu, out of the heaven, or ecton uranon, out of the heavens. I can make plural singular. We have it in the Bible both ways. Ho angelos ectu uranu, so a messenger or angel out of the heavens. Remember the word a? Where's my mouse? Okay, I can't see my mouse here. It's not showing up. Jode, a, right? So, see, I think, yeah, right there, a, or, remember, we talked about that in the last videos. So I still got one or two last parts to post for that creed that we were doing in 1 Timothy 3:16. So anyway, we were talking about a lot of grammar there. I was introducing a lot of grammar that I haven't really done a whole lot yet on this channel, but I'm going to start picking it up. Like this video I'm doing here, I'm transitioning to where, like, okay, you guys get your mind wraps around this, to where we're going to get into the target language, into Greek more and more and more. And I cannot emphasize enough repetition. Like, to only watch this video once, you won't get as much out of it. Like, there's a lot of videos, a lot of channels out there where I go over them a lot, because just train your ear, which is, there's a certain connection to your brain that is different in terms of like audio memory than visual memory. When you read, you got to do that as well. That's different. So what's coming through your eyes is connecting to a certain part of your brain, and those two together, if you're doing them both, right, speaking out loud when you're reading, and listening to others, doing things that are Greek, together with reading and reading out loud, but even reading. So the reading out loud is also going to do both. You're going to get the audible memory set in, but you also get the visual that's tied in, from reading. So yeah, both very powerful. Anyway, this is the word for or, right? Like this or that, right? So the conjunction or. So nai ti elegon. What was I saying? I use the imperfect, right? I don't say what did I say? Ti apon. That would be the aorist. Ti apon. What did I say? No. Udamos. Ti elegon. What was I saying? Ti elegon. So the imperfect, is the idea of something that happened in the past, but progressive over time. That's what the emphasis is when you use the imperfect. But when you're using the aorist, you're not really emphasizing something happening over time. It didn't mean that something happened like that. And it's just that's not your point. You're not making that point. Your point is just something happened in the past. And that's all the point of the context of what it is you're saying. So you just use the aorist indicative to refer to something that happened in the past. But here I'm actually emphasizing what was I saying, right? So ti elegon. Ego elegon kai erotesa humas. I asked you guys, tis estin ho angelos tu theu. Tis estin ho angelos tu theu. Nai. To ho angelos tu theu estin humes oirete. Do you guys know? Uke ke jode. We don't have it here. La jode. En stikos tessera. Yeah. En ageneto Ioannes ho baptizon. Putos esten ho angelos tu theo. Kai en tuto to meros idu apostelo to angelo mu prosoposu. Hemes oidamen, we know. Hemes, we. Oidamen, we know. Hoti hotheos lege, that God is speaking. Nine. Kai ho Isaías, egrapse, he wrote. He wrote tus logus epitegraphe, right, upon the right, or under the writing, well, under the writing. Into biblio. Sometimes we loosely use it as the book. In fact, that's where we get the word for Bible, right? But really up until 3rd century, 4th century AD, there wasn't, somewhere near that time. And I think scholars typically say Christians are the ones that introduced the idea of a book first. But mostly things were just written on, just individual scrolls and, pieces of what we might just call paper, that was kind of a flat, maybe it was rolled up, scrolled up or whatever. So like toerotema, the question, biblion semaine, book, alethos lego ukoira, I don't know. So is it a book or is it just, some collection of writings? It's probably better to think of it that way. Over time, by the time you get in the 4th century forward, yeah, of course, they started to take on that meaning. But in prostentutum, before this, no. Udiafere, man, it doesn't matter. There's no difference there. It doesn't matter. So Joseos apostele ton angelon tu. Hosestin ho Ioannes, ho baptizon, right? Ho Ioannes, John, the baptizer, right? Prosopo su. Ho theos lege tini. He's speaking to whom? Ho Jesus, right? Ho theos, epe tuto, kai he profetes Isaia acue autu, kai egrapse, kai he wrote it into biblio, kai nun Marcos, nai, Marcos, grafe tuto, egrapse tuto. He wrote this. Egrapse est in aorist tense, right? He wrote it. Egrapse. Kai hotheos epe tuto ho pater. Ho pater hosestin hotheos. The Father hosestin hotheos, who is God, right? Lege tuto to huio autu, to his son, to huio autu. Hosestin ho Christos. It's Christ. Hos estin ho huios tu theou, is the Son of God, right? Kai haute estem prophetea, signamen, prophetea, haute he sulabe, the syllable, eke ton tonon, has the accent, the tonos, the accent. Prophetea, estem prophecy, right? Puesman, where are we? Nine. So nun, legomen tuto. So we're saying this. Ho theos apostele ton angelon hos estin Ioannes ho baptizon. Pro signomen pro prosoposu tuto semaine pro tu chrono, before the time, to Jesu Christu, afficus thai, to arrive, paragenetai. Both those two infinitives, those verbs, mean to arrive, right? Paragenetai. Paragenestai, signon. Paragenestai is the infinitive. Paragenestai, nai. Pro, to chrono, to, so pro to chrono, before the time. O chronos, arsenicon, and it's a masculine second declension noun. So we use it in the genitive. Pro to chrono, before the time. To, the arthon, to arthon to, in the genitive. Genike, ptosis. Kai, infinitive. To kai aparemphatos. How do we say infinitive? Post legatai, post legomen infinitive. Hellenisti. Estin aparemphatos, egografo, aparemphatos, nai, jutos, aparemphatos, nai, jutos, o aparemphatos, José Moido, que ego, egrapsa, orthos, ala, dokimazo, mauton. I test myself. Okay, nai, putos. Paremphatos. Now, like I always say, yeah, infinitive. Many words, most words, have multiple definitions, but whenever we're using these grammatical terms, they're grammatical terms that were used in antiquity in the ancient Greek period. But those same words would be used for other things as well. So it's not like exclusively a lot of these words, they only can mean this grammar term. No, a lot of them can mean other things. So we see aparemphatos, we have, it's an adjective, and we have where this form, omicron sigma, is either the feminine or the masculine. Feminine and the masculine. Arsenicon, masculine. Kai thelukon, and the feminine. Kai tuto is an udeteron, right? So there's the neuter. So we pointed this out many times, many videos. Some adjectives are like what I call type 3, meaning there's the separate ending for the masculine versus the feminine versus the neuter. And some types, the feminine and the masculine share the same thing, which is always typical ending for masculine. Typical ending for a nominative second declension noun. And this is a typical ending for a typical neuter second declension noun for the nominative case. So yeah, it could mean not determinative, or infinitive mood, because remember, like, infinite is the idea of infinitive, right? So anyway, let's epimenomen, let's continue, right? Epimenomen. Apotasomai humin